Albert Lee Seed is proud to support the Back to the Roots podcast. Like you, they value the one-on-one conversations with farmers and other agricultural professionals that you hear on this show. Albert Lee Seed helps organic and transitional farms with a full line of organic and non-GMO farm seed for corn, soybeans, forage and pasture, cover crops, and cereal grains. Check them out at alseed.com. That's alseed.com.
You're listening to Back to the Roots podcast. Today we are joined by Adam Yoder from Millersburg, Ohio. He is an organic dairy farmer and has recently started shipping organic milk. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, Adam Yoder here. We farm 95 acres along with my wife Christina. We have 3 children, ages 2 through 8. As far as a little bit of a background on the organic side of it, in 15 we decided we were going to go organic. We did sign a contract with Organic Valley. And then, it would have been the 3 years, because of the land transition. Then we got pushed out a year, so we'd have been in May of 19, we got on the organic truck. As far as the crops, we have typically about 15 acres of corn for corn grain and silage. And then the rest would be about 30 acres hay, 35 acres hay, and the balance would be in pasture. And of course, hay fields are, grazed as needed. We feed corn silage year round, but we do not typically feed a lot of hay for the summer period.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you're on your farm that you grew up on?
Yes, I think we're the 6th generation on the farm there.
Now, when you had mentioned the other day when I talked to you that you grew up farming through your teenage years and just basically stayed on the farm, at what point did you decide to go back, join the Amish church and realize that you want to be a dairy farmer?
Yeah, as far as actually deciding that, our first memory, basically, we always worked at least part-time on the farm. There was really never a point in our life where we didn't think we would join the Amish church and be a dairy farmer. So to tell you a certain point, that's just what we always thought we'd do.
Mm-hmm. And was there ever a point that, I guess like in taking over the family farm, was that kind of a hope and then it came about, or were you kind of looking at other farms and then this opportunity came about? In this area where we're at in Holmes County, land is very, very expensive. So I assume just going out and purchasing a farm on your own was daunting, to say the least.
Yeah, I have one sister, but I'm the only son. So I guess it was just kind of an unspoken thing where, I always just thought I would get the farm. Mm-hmm. So I never really thought of other options, really, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing where we always thought that would happen. When we got married, Dad was like, hey, do you want to take over? And I said yes, and that's what we did, Mm-hmm. So it's because of me being the only son, we never really went through the, what you're talking about. It's mm-hmm. just kind of a thing we always thought we'd do. And Dad, he was a successful farmer, so that, that mm-hmm. obviously helped,
And what year did you start? Did you take over from your dad?
2009.
Okay.
So, and that was, when actually the downturn wasn't nearly as long, so you don't hear as much about it, but milk was actually quite a bit cheaper in 2009 than it was during this downturn. Now, obviously, cost, feed was, cheaper through this downturn, but as far as, just equipment, repairs, minerals, that kind of, the inputs are significantly higher than they were in 2009.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you came in at kind of the bottom of the conventional market in 2009.
Yes.
Where were the milk prices then? And I guess how were you just newly married when you took over, or did you take over before you got married?
We were newly married. We got married in October, and then we took over in March.
Okay. And what were the milk prices then?
I'd have to look it up for sure, but I think we got us $13. I think we got a couple months. But then it was just a short downturn, and then it was just a steady upward trend till, everybody that's a conventional farmer knows about 2014, We actually, from 2009 to 2014, we increased our profits every year. I mean, not always because of the milk price. Some of it was management, but the milk prices kind of helped us out. And then after, 14, obviously, everybody knows about that story. So.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start looking at organics? Because your father-in-law, who I grew up in the same neighborhood as him, is a very successful conventional farmer. He's a great farmer. So you've got a father-in-law and your wife grew up on a farm. So when did you start looking at organics?
Probably when we really started looking at organics, we really started doing a lot better job on financials, paperwork, record keeping. Every year we sat down, what could we do to be more profitable, not necessarily to grow, but to be more profitable. And really we realized what we were doing anyway, it's basically a no-brainer. All we had to do was, change that mindset, really. We didn't have to change our management always as much, I think, as our mindset. Just the way. So, yeah, it was pretty much a financial decision. We thought we could make more money doing it. That's why we did it. Yes, we are making more money, but there's also, just the mindset or just the way. If I would make the same amount of money, I'd never go back. I just love this way of farming. It's just, yeah, as far as cultivating corn versus going out there and spraying it. We have spring water on our farm. A lot of our cropland is upland from the spring, and it's just, to be spraying that. And it's just a good, we live on the farm. It's just a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And as far as when you were looking to transition, it was a financially driven thing, but what were some of the management practices? You said you were pretty close, but were you spraying, were you treating animals, and were you grazing?
Yes, we were very, very much involved in grazing. Obviously, I feel like we do a better job than we did then, but yeah, we were very actively grazing. Our number one goal from 2009 to now, and it's never changed. Our number one goal, and I feel it's something that we don't hear enough, is cost of production. That's how we measure. Yeah, we worry about how much milk we send, but how we measure success on our farm is how much it costs us to produce 100 pounds of milk. Because it's just amazing to me, the price of milk changes $3 and everybody gets all worked about it. But the reality is, people sending the same amount of milk sitting in a room, the reality is their cost of production is probably $8 variation. But we get all worked up about $3. I think it's just something that we need to hear a lot more of, is what it to efficiently produce 100 pounds of milk. And it's not always just being a tightwad, because if you have more hundredweights to divide by your expenses, your cost of production goes down. So it's just that thing, balance, getting a good return on your investment for what you spent.
Mm-hmm. And do you figure up your cost of production annually?
Yes.
What was it over the last couple of years?
What we did when we transitioned, so we were raising our own feed anyway, so we pulled out all the, soybeans, that kind of thing. We're feeding a little corn distillers. So we raised our own feed, we put the good mineral in our ration, and then we just, whatever the cows wanted to give, they give. So we kept our cost of production, which was, I think, $9.53. That would be without depreciation. Mm-hmm. We figured it up, all kinds of fancy ways, but the number we stack up year after year after year after year is simply just our cash costs divided by the hundredweight sold, or vice versa, however. Sure. But yeah, we've done it all kinds of other fancy ways just to see how it would turn out. That was I think $9.53 for 2018. 2019, we started bringing in some sugar for fresh cows. We started feeding soybeans. The last half of the year, we sent quite a bit more milk, but the first 3 months were really tough because our hay quality wasn't there. So our expenses were up, but our production wasn't up that much. So we were at $12 this year, and we're not really that happy with it. We think our expenses were right on goal with our expenses, but I think if we do the same thing next year, hopefully, we'll have more hunter rates to divide that expense. And $11 is kind of my goal, you know. And obviously, I'm the kind of guy, if I meet my goal, I got to make it. But, I don't care if I never meet my goal. I just want to be working toward that goal, and if I reach it, I got to change it. That's the way we look at it. Am I working toward the goal? It's not, do I reach it or not? And
you said since 2009, that's been your goal, is to know your cost of production.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And have you been calculating it over that whole period?
Oh, yeah. We have. I mean, I can walk into... Well, no, I got to take that back. Maybe not quite that far. I think it was 2 or 3 years after we started that we really started getting into the thing. But
and when you first calculated, I guess where I'm going with this is, what was it, and what did you move your goal, and what were some of the things you did to try and get that cost of production down?
Well, I mean, the main thing we always did was, raise our own feed. Obviously, if you want to be that low, you're going after it. You can't buy a lot of feed. Things we did, I mean, we were talking about it in a pasture about one time about cost of production. Every morning when you get up, you have a chance to impact that, because if you take care, I mean, there's just so much stuff that you can do that the cows give a couple more pounds of milk, but it doesn't cost you anything to produce it, and it's just everything basically. I think you asked where we were when we started keeping record. We were at 810. And that was when we raised all our own feed for the horses. We basically didn't buy anything, where now we buy our feed for the horses and a little bit for the calves and that kind of stuff, which I guess then we did for the calves too. So my goal is, or I guess is to, how would I say? Now, we're not looking to go back to 810, but what really the goal I'm working for now is when we started transitioning in 15, we'd like to be same cost of production and same production as we were in 15 organically. You don't have to be too smart of a math person to know that that's our goal. Will we ever reach it? Probably not. But if we can make milk for the same organic milk for the same price we did conventionally and keep the same production, that's our goal. We'll probably never reach it, but we're going to work toward it.
But that is closer to an achievable goal, being that you raise all your own feed.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I mean, you can buy feed and do fine. That's not what I'm saying. But if you want to, the way we do it, we can't buy a lot of feed, to meet that, to be that low. Or I think it's low. I don't, maybe, yeah.
So how many cows are you milking currently?
Well, we keep 30 cows total.
Okay.
So, milking, we have a 26 stall, high stalls. So we try to keep that thing full at all times, because we hate everything to change them. Sometimes we change, sometimes we're empty a little bit. But our goal would be to keep 26 milking cows at all times. And another thing that, we're not into pushing sometimes. I'd like to send about this. That's another goal. We go on the either side of the extremes on that. But, we'd like to stay within 200 pounds a day, 365 days a year of shipped milk. That we go on either side of that sometime, but that we kind of want to stay in that 200 pounds a day, year round. We're not into, really hammering it this time and not this time. And part of that is because of our setup, We don't like changing cows, so we don't want to milk 30 cows sometimes and 20 other times. So that's the way we do it, and it's worked out.
And your dad would have run the farm very similar, just not organically.
Yeah. So, we made some changes, but yeah, it wasn't that significant,
So as you've gotten into organic production, let's talk about the crop side first. What was the biggest change in operations on the crop side?
The crop side, well, obviously cultivating corn. Now we did raise some Roundup Ready corn, so that was easy. We still plowed, so it wasn't like we had to come from no-till, but we roughly worked the ground and we put corn in and we let the wheats and the corn grow. Then we sprayed it with Roundup, and that was it. So yeah, cultivating corn is a change, but. We would be in our, 4th, 5th year maybe of raising corn, so it's not like we're a veteran or anything, but so far, a lot of the fears we had didn't happen. You know, it's worked out. We really haven't had a drop in yield. Our costs are the same, minus of course the labor thing, which as far as equipment, being a horse farmer, my horses eat regardless do they work or not. So basically my only additional cost is labor. And to be raising, you know, corn that's worth $3.50 versus $10, my return on labor is extremely good, and I'm doing a super hobby that I love at the same time. You know?
So you love cultivating corn?
Oh, I'm like your dad. I would do that for the fun. I'd do that rather than go to Lake Erie fishing. I mean, any day.
It's something.
Yeah. Wow. I went one time this summer, and yeah, I'd pick cultivating corn any day of the year.
Were they not biting, or?
Well, I got to tell you, I was pretty sick. So and they were actually saying yesterday that the ground gives you a natural high. So that kind of, the soil can actually give you a natural high. So that maybe explains some stuff too. I didn't have that over on the lake when I was sick.
Okay, so corn, that was really the only big change, is the grazing?
Big change. We were using, the fertilizer we used ammonium sulfate on our crop, you know, hay. We did in the past spray for leafhoppers. That's been a little bit of, we still haven't figured out how to quite get rid of those. Yeah, there's some changes here and there that we struggled with. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say we didn't struggle. It just wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. You know,
that's the one thing I've seen over the years. The biggest fear that a transitioning farmer has is very seldom what ends up being the problem, because they're so aware of it and are so focused on it that it never becomes the problem they think it's going to be. It's the things that a transitioning farmer thinks is going to be easy, they don't pay attention to, and then all of a sudden they have a problem.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, one thing you probably don't remember it, but I remember that the time you came out when we decided we were going to go organic, I told you, I think we'll do a pretty good job on crops because we really love that. But I'm kind of scared on something. We're still doing dry treating, and I'm kind of scared of something. You told me if we raise good feed, we're taking, you know, a lot of the problems from the cows are going to take care of themselves. And I think, I mean, you just can't capture on paper the thing, you know, raising your own feed, putting it through the cows, putting the manure back on the field, and just doing the same. I mean, it's just, you can't capture on paper what that does long term. I mean, it's just that home raised feed, you know, it's good for the cows. You know, It's just like everybody now with this food movement is saying, grow your own food, grow your own food. It's the exact same thing with the cows. You know what they're eating, you know. And there's just nothing like, you know, it's 10 degrees outside and it's cold and windy and the cows are inside and you're feeding the hay you made and they're doing well, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Was it a bigger learning curve on the animal side than the crop side? We
did struggle with somatic cell when we pulled there was, yeah, I mean, I say struggle. I mean, there was a couple of months we were 300,000, or I mean, it's not like it went crazy, but we weren't, you know, and we, you know, it's something. Look at all the dairy magazines. I mean, they're loaded with all kinds of awesome somatic cell products. It's a problem for everybody. I mean, it's not like just going organic, you know. It's just something you have to work with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about on the calves? Anything, was any of your like calf raising management different when you went organic, or did it just basically stay the same?
See, a lot. We were kind of thinking about this a little before we actually pulled the trigger, so we tried some of this stuff. You know, obviously a lot of the calf starters, I think they have the conventional for coccidia or some of that stuff. The main thing is the best thing to raise a calf is right on the farm between the cow's legs. You just have to use it. I mean, good colostrum, good dry cow management, plenty of milk. And calves is just not, every farm's different. Calves is just not something we've had a problem with. I mean, I think in the last 10 years, I think maybe we lost 2 calves. You know, it's just not been a problem for us. And I think, you know, good dry cow management is the start of that, and then taking care of the colostrum. And yeah. And another thing, you know, talking about the thing about the struggle, connect with other farmers. I mean, we were just a little behind at a lot of the people. We had a lot of people in our area get on the truck in 2017, a lot of the guys in my pasture well. And, you know, if I had a problem, there's a guy there in our neighborhood church that, you know, he's been one of the first organic farm, the first 10, I think. Just to be able to call somebody up and say, hey, I got this issue, what will you do about it? Or you have a pastoral and say, hey, I got this issue. It's just interacting with other farmers is just so key. You can't make all the mistakes yourself. You just can't. You don't have, not in this farm economy.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that within the farmers that, like you said you're in a pasture walk group, were you in the same group prior to organics? And is it conventional and organic farmers in those pasture walks?
Yeah, there's both. And yes, we're in the same group, and we were.
Okay. And everybody still gets along.
Yeah, actually, I mean, we're into that, we share numbers and everything, and there's nothing I would like more to see than have a guy that's milking, cows are milking 25,000 pounds a year in our group. I think we could learn a lot from each other, because I think a huge problem I see in organic is I think we need to produce a little more milk, If we get $35, but we're producing so little milk, we're not generating per day what somebody is. It more comes down, there again, it comes down to how much it costs to produce it. It just does. Mm-hmm. So I think we can learn from each other. The only way it wouldn't work is if we're trying to prove him and he's trying to prove us. But if we can sit down and learn from each other, I think we could learn a lot. Mm-hmm. I think we could learn. So no, I mean, the attitude is what matters. How you farm doesn't, I see that as no problem, conventional organic, no problem whatsoever.
Because when you transition to organics as a grazing dairy farmer, your learning curve is a lot less steep than going from confinement, like we talked to Dave DeCam, who went from a large confinement dairy to a grazing organic dairy. That grazing aspect in organics, if you've got that figured out before you go organic, you've got the hardest thing to figured out already before you start. So I think, as far as it was really, in hearing you talk about your transition, it was really a series of small changes. It wasn't anything like you didn't turn everything upside down and start from scratch. It was just the small changes that get you in compliance with organics.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine going from not grazing to grazing. And another thing I want to mention on that, sometimes you hear the remark, you're organic, you have to graze anyway. Well, I'm just not. If somebody says that, I'm not even willing to listen to him. We graze because we want to graze, not because we have to graze. And I think, that's something that we really need to focus on, as small farmers. And even 200 cows is small farmer in this day and age. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on. I mean, it's what the people want, and it's what we can do best, as smaller farm. I mean, somebody with 10,000 cows can't graze, So I think it's something we really need. It's what the customer wants, and it's what we can do. We just have to connect that.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, for you on the farm, you're talking cost of production?
Yes.
You cannot get it any lower. The only way to keep it that low is by grazing.
Right, and it's not just the feed you harvest. It's the long-lasting cows. I mean, mm-hmm. There is no way you can whack cost off your production easier than not raising the heifers. Not just heifers you don't need, but have older. You hear it a lot, even in big ag and in more, fourth, fifth lactation cows. They're paid off and they're making the most milk. So if you don't keep them till they're that long, I mean, man, are you missing out? I think, and that's one thing. The next thing we are really focusing on is genetics. And really just focus on getting more cows. I mean, I'm not looking at having 14-year-old cow. I don't care if I never have a cow older than 10. But I want to consistently get cows into that fourth, fifth, sixth lactation, because that's what makes money. Mm-hmm. The heifer, we really look at it. At what point in that heifer's life are we even and we're ready to start? So the more mature cows we can, the more we don't have to start over. Now, we're not really looking to, I guess I should add, we're not really looking to cull less than we do now, but we're looking through, trying to have better health. We're looking at culling more because we want to cull them. And that would increase our production, which would decrease our cost of production. So we're not looking. I think we've done a good job on not keeping extra heifers, and the amount of heifers we keep, I think, is pretty good. but I want to cull more because I want to cull them, not because I have to. That's kind of where we're going with that.
How many heifers are you raising in a year?
Well, we always have a rule where we keep half as many calves and heifers as cows. So we have 30 cows, so we never have more than 15 young
From zero to
freshening
Yeah.
on the farm. I should say never. Maybe sometimes we have 16, but we really watch that. And it's just everybody has their weak points they got to work through. I mean, some people say they have too many cows. I mean, I just can't comprehend that. We have 4 sales a week. How can you have too many cows? I just can't comprehend that. But then sometimes I'm at the other extreme. So my goal is 30 cows. So every time I hit 30, bang, there's a cow gone. Well, okay, then stuff turns up that I didn't expect. So now I have 28 total cows. So we've learned if we want to average 30, we actually got to keep 31 or 32 periodically. If we never go over 30, we're probably going to average 28, 29 at the end of the year, because stuff happens, It just does.
And what are your genetics?
We have Holsteins. Right now we're using select sires.
And you're sticking with Holsteins?
We're sticking. We have no plans to go other way than Holsteins, but we're probably, we might start, or we're going to, or planning on it, doing our own breeding and then maybe do a little more. We're going to start doing AAA mating. We're probably going to look at more like Triple Hill and, try to – we're happy with select sires and we're going to stay with them at least for some, but we're starting to look at maybe some other options, like Triple Hills. That's really their thing, long-lasting cows, more depth. The only thing I'm worried there, if I love the look of those, deep cows, but still, I mean, I want to be able to turn feed into milk. So I don't want to go too extreme. I mean, if I have a cow that lasts till she's 14, but she never turns feed into milk very efficiently, that's beside the point. So it's all about efficiency and turning feed into milk, but still live last.
Mm-hmm. And right now, for keeping those, I assume it's probably somewhere in the range of 7 to 10 calves a year, heifer calves a year.
Yeah, it'd be about 8. We freshen at 22 months, but obviously not every heifer just pops a calf at 22 months. Occasionally one doesn't breed, or and then it kind of varies. But yeah, kind of 8. We watch our we usually, if we have more than 8 under a year old, and obviously we try to space them because of the way we want our cows to freshen. But 8 under a year old, and then that we don't really have to watch that 15 or 16 thing because we watch. If we gave Abe and every heifer freshens at 22 months, we're still well under, but then, so it varies. It's not exact science, but it's what we watch,
And up till now, you said you're moving towards breeding your own cows.
Yeah, I think.
Have you had a bull in the past, or were you?
We still have some cows that were out of a bull we had. In the last, I'd say probably 60-70% of our herd would be, the select sire, AI genetic. So we've been getting a technician is what we've been doing. But we just feel like if we would, if we breed our own cows, it would just open our options up to, to shop. And, with the AAA mating, it'll give us the tools, I think, to, give us a little bit of a better idea what we're looking for. And I look at that as my weak point because I really hate it. There's nothing I hate worse than looking at a bull book. I mean, I want to be out in the field or milking but I think it's kind of my next thing that I need to work on if I want to continue, in this. I think it's the next, for this, to continue in this cost of production thing. I mean, there's just no easier way to do that than, longer lasting cows, less heifers. But it's way more than just raising less heifer. It's having those 4th, 5th, 6th lactation cows that are paid off and peaking in milk.
And are you breeding? Are you looking at sex semen, and are you breeding those cows that have that track record of being able to make it to that 3rd, 4th, 5th lactation, and only breeding those with the genetics you're looking for so that you can – what are you doing now? Is that what you're heading towards, or is that what you've done? And then what are you breeding bottom-end cows to?
What we've done in the past is just everybody got mated and bred, and then we kept the one, kind of out of the cows we liked. It's what we've done in the past. What we're doing, we are experimenting a little bit with sex semen on, cows we think would work out. I'm not sure if we're going to continue go. I mean, depending, I guess, what kind of a preg rates we'll get on that. I mean, if I start breeding myself, I'm not sure that's. I mean, it's expensive and it's a little less fertility. I'm not sure that we're going to continue. What we're doing right now, we're doing what you said. We're just kind of slight cows, older cows. In the winter, of course, or not in the July, we're not. And then we're using beef. But now this is just something that we started in the last 3-4 months. We even had a beef calf. But I'm not sure that we're going to continue going that route. Those calves would generate us, if we can get a little more, maybe, in our small herd, 1,000 or whatever. I don't know. I mean, the main thing is heifer raising costs and to get cows in that forth. I'm always thinking we're better off just to go what we've been doing, breed every cow like we're going to keep it, and then just play it as if they hit the ground.
And I was thinking here, you don't want to vary more than up 200 or down 200 pounds of milk per day. So when you look at that, you have to have a really consistent conception rate in your cows to stay there, because we have a lot of farms who have like two groups. They've got the fall freshening group and the spring freshening group. So but you're looking at having even calving year round to keep your tank full or, at the same level roughly the same year. So genetics and conception rate has to be huge for you to do that.
Actually, not really. Not as much as you think, because we don't have a group window to hit. And we have Holsteins, which are obviously not the most fertile cows out there, but they also know how to milk. So if we get a cow that milks 16 months, and in the 16th month she gives me a profitable amount of milk, I really do not care, because I don't have a certain window she has to freshen. I mean, as long as she's productive and doesn't, I'm fine. I have some cows that, if I look down over my charts, I have one cow that, she's made me tons of money, and I think she's gone 4 or 5 months over the year multiple times, but she dries off at 50 days, giving me a very profitable amount of milk. And that's the nice thing about not having windows you have to hit. I don't care. That way calves don't make any money anyway. Milk cows do. So, yeah, that's one I think is really something that's really positive about not trying to hit a certain window. So, yeah, you're right. The more than we're worried about this cow was freshened in February, she's got to freshen in February again, is consistently be breeding cows that conceive. It doesn't matter if it's the same cow as it was last year, just as long as we're consistently breeding cows that are conceiving, we have consistent fresh cows. And obviously, there's never a month we don't have a fresh cow, but we don't. There's still a month where cows in heat 60 days and she would be fresh in February. Yeah, we might breed her, but if she's going to be fresh in July, we wouldn't even think about it. So, yeah, there's still a month we have more, but there's never a month we don't have a fresh cow. I don't think there's ever been.
And that's, I guess I didn't even realize this, but if you don't have a calving window, you are never forced to sell a good cow because she doesn't hit a window.
No,
that's the one thing that happens on herds is a really good milking cow might not breed back right away, but then she misses her window and she's gone.
Yeah, if she, I don't like to feed a cow for 3 or 4 months. That's feeding. The only income we have is milk. So everything on the farm is supported by the cows that are milking. So the less stuff I have to feed that's not milking. So I don't care if she could milk 2 years. What I care is that she milks me a profitable amount. Obviously, if she milked that long, your best return on investment is that, 5-6 months to. But I think, some, especially in the high input world, they're trying so hard to, this thing's profitable just for a short period of time. Well, yeah, because, their inputs and, they're keeping all kinds of heifers to try to hit that, where if she milks 16 months and she gives me a profitable amount right up to 50 days, who cares?
Do you know what your profitable amount of milk is?
We look at it. It depends on the time of the year. Right now we're getting 35, 40. We got in May we're getting 28. So that's different, and it's also different if we're running a little low on feed or if we have plenty of feed. So we watch that. We know, we figure out. Based on what the fat and what cosmetics sell, and we figure out if we get down to where we're not sure, we we figure out how much dollars she generates a day. And then I usually figure out how much my purchase feed costs are, which isn't very much. And then I figure out how much it would cost me if I would actually buy the feed that I'm feeding her. And, so it's not really a certain amount. It's just depending when and how the situation is. If I don't, as long as I can even break a little more than even, I won't have an empty stall, because at least I'm milking anyway. She's producing manure. But I'm not gonna. That's not my goal to have. My goal is to have 26 stalls with profitable cows. But rather than have an empty stall, if I can make a little bit of money, she might as well be giving me the manure, and.
But I think that's interesting that it depends on the time of year. It depends on feed inventory. There's all these factors. So if she could be milking less in May than she could in January, and still be profitable. I like how you break it down to the moment when the cow, you don't have this number. If she doesn't hit this number, she's not profitable, period. So it's going to be in the moment that she's milking is what you try to figure out. Are you profitable today?
Yes.
And how often do you figure that out?
Not really that often. I mean, it's more when
you just kind of
when I need. Okay, how would you say when? Let's say I'm milking this cow, and boy, she's not milking very much. Like right now, they got a couple of cows that did not conceive. They're going to go. So yes, I'm watching them, And right now, the one cow actually was about ready to send her, and then she went back up a little bit. So those now, of course, if she's pregnant, and I need the cows, it's not going to matter. I'm going to keep her. But in this situation, she's got to give me a decent amount, at least, a certain amount of, before I'm actually, because I'm not going to keep her. So, I mean, if she's not profitable, there's no sense of keeping her. But like I said, right now I would have an empty stall if I'd sell her. So the amount of profit I would have to have is way lower, than if the stall would be filled. As soon as we have heifers in March, and then she's gone. And if she's gone before that, if she's not profitable till then, that's the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have an empty stall over an unprofitable cow.
Why would I want to milk a cow that's not profitable just for the fun of it? I don't like milking that well.
I would be really interested to see how many farms don't have at least one cow that is not making money. I think there's some on pretty much every farm.
And there's some on my farm too, probably. Sure. I just don't know it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. Well, I think they're all making at least a little because of where our inputs are. I mean, we're getting, about 3 times more for our milk than what our cost of production is right now, in the winter, than what our cost of production is minus depreciation. So we're not going to be actually losing money on a cow. But the thing is, if we replace, and that's one thing that a guy that keeps more heifers than he needs and just keeps the best one could argue with me, let's say if I would replace the 10 lowest with 10 higher ones, you could get in that argument too, it's just whatever. But yeah, cost of production is that's what we do. I mean, and not a lot of people are really excited when I talk about it, because it's just not a popular thing. Everybody thinks you need more cows. You got to get more for your milk. It's just not a popular thing.
But with this downturn, I mean, you're coming in, in 2019, very much a difficult year for organic milk, just in general across the whole market. And before that, in 15 and 14, 15, 16, prices were extremely high for organic milk. So I think in a lot of cases, farmers were not forced to know their cost of production. And we're getting to the point now where farmers have to know their cost of production, or they will be losing money on every single, I'm exaggerating here, but every single stall that they're milking could be unprofitable, and they don't even know it because the high price carried them through. And that's where, when we talk about management improving during hard times, I think you've been doing this for a long time, but I think this is a practice that more farmers need to do to improve their management to get through these difficult lower priced eras.
Another thing that I want to point out there, I mean, I think we underestimate what a little extra motivation does. Okay, if I would have been getting $40 and now I'm getting $35, I wouldn't be that motivated. Yeah, okay. We were getting whatever, $15, $16, $17 plus the transition bonus, and now we're getting, 35, 40 for the winter premium. So motivation is, and we were getting 10 cents for PI, now we're getting 75. So motivation is no problem for us. And I think, it's part of it where we're at. It's just where we came from. If we on our way down, we wouldn't be happy either. It's not hard to get motivated if you're doing better, and it's harder if you're going down. It's just reality. But I think we underestimate what just that little extra motivation does. Just go out there and just do a little bit of a better job. I really think we underestimate that. That was probably. We could have drove ourselves crazy thinking what we could have got through there, but probably just the hardest thing we went through was, okay, we try to produce quality, and we've done a pretty good job with the LPC and the PI and all that stuff. Somatic cell, we can never quite get where we want to be, but that was the hardest part, especially that last winter. We could have been getting it was $1.25, I think at that time. Now it's $1.50 if you get all the the LPC, the PI, it's $1.50, but we were getting 10 cents and 20 cents for cement. To motivate yourself to do a good job to get 10 cents. That's hard, And we did. We had a couple there when we got on in May, there in January, February. We had a couple major PI's bikes. And that also, there again, just a little extra. And we didn't, once we got down to, March, April, we were getting close to the organic truck. The last thing in the world we ever wanted to happen is Jerry come out and take a sample and we get pushed back because of that. So, we were extremely good. But that just pointed out again, a little extra motivated. We didn't do anything different. All we did, we just scrubbed a little harder, opened our eyes a little more. It's the difference between 1 and 2 or, those we had a couple that were extremely high, and they don't take out the highest one. So even our 10 cents was gone there. So I think we really underestimate what just that little extra does.
Well, and that little motivation can be enough to, like you said, improve management skills. And I think one of the things that we were talking about yesterday when you were sitting, when we sat downstairs, was going through that extra year of transition was extremely difficult, but you knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's that little bit of, as you said, extra motivation to make sure that things stay good and you're ready to get on the truck when the time is there. And you make those little management changes that really help improve your bottom line and your efficiencies. And those lessons learned during that tough period 10 years from now will make you more money than that extra year that you were on the truck. And I thought that was a pretty interesting observation. Not many people can take that mindset when they know that double price is should be theirs. That's not the right way to phrase it. That sounds entitled to a organic price. But, in a normal market time, you should have been getting that full organic price. And yeah, it's just an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, you're right. One thing, if we wouldn't say we weren't frustrated by it, we'd be lying. But if we're so busy worrying about our efficiencies and the cost of productions, it really doesn't matter what we get for the milk. If we look at financials, the last thing in the world we care about is what we got for milk that year, because what we're really worried about is how much milk did we produce and how much did it cost us to produce it. So that helped us too through that, because that was always our focus, and it continued to be our focus. Where if we were thinking, man, if we would just get this, we thought that, don't get me wrong, but we didn't think it as much if that would have been our focus. If we could just get $3 more, we'd make more money. We were thinking if we could just produce the same amount of milk and cost $3 less to produce it. If we thought that way, it really helped with the frustration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I must say your attitude was really good, or at least when you talked to me during that year of transition, because there were other farmers in the same shoes as you were, and that second year of transition was really hard. And, I know I saw what you guys went through, but the attitude and coming out of it, and I really think you're benefiting now, and I think the other people that I worked with that went through it are going to benefit as well, because they were forced to look at cost of production. They were forced to really sharpen their pencil and figure out what can we do to produce this milk cheaper. And I think it will bear fruit for years to come. I do want to make a comment about the cost of production. That is one thing that I think we do not hear about nearly enough. Because instead of really looking at cost of production, it's a lot easier to ask for $2 more. But I think the cost of production conversation is a conversation that should be had, and especially in these little financial groups that are starting, that's a conversation that is vitally important to those groups being successful.
And we've had it. I mean, we've really had that.
But you don't hear farmers talk about it like you just got done talking about it. I want to thank you for that, because that to me is going to be the key to the small farm survival, especially on the dairy side. The only thing you can control is your cost of production, and you can't necessarily totally control that, but that's
You control it more than you control the price.
Yeah.
Now, main thing what we're talking about is for farmers, not for the staff at Organic Valley. They need to be working at higher pay prices.
Now we're talking.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like I'm saying, hey, just bring the milk price down and I'm happy. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that's what I can control. We still need, and you're kind of our, you're supposed to work for us, and we need you to continue. I mean, we need you to continue pushing up. We need those milk prices. Yeah, we do. But in the meantime, this is what we can control,
But if you're aware of working on your cost of production when things are tight, you're not going to forget to work on cost of production when things are good.
Yeah,
or you shouldn't.
No, I don't think. I mean, it's just a thing we do,
I know one thing that I did want to get into is a little bit here is being at 26 cows in a stall barn. Is that your long-term plan, or do you have some sort of plans to renovate a barn or put in a parlor or anything like that? I don't know if that would affect cost of production at all, but I assume there's some efficiencies that could be had there by running cows through a parlor versus in a stall barn, or going up in cow numbers. Or are you kind of set with your land base that you're making all your own feed? 26 cows is just, that's about right for you?
Yeah. I mean, we're not really set on anything. The main thing, we have to be profitable, and we're going to do it as simply as possible. Other than that, we're not really set on anything. As far as upgrades, yeah. I mean, we're definitely. I mean, I see us in the next 5 years. We're starting to kind of, if we hear see a facility, hear about it, we're starting to listen. As far as actually cost, like I said, the cost we really look at is just cash costs. We do all the depreciation, and we've done where the weight millers, where I kind of like that, where you actually turn your heifers and cull cows into hundredweight equivalents. We've done all that. As far as actually what the cows are doing for us now, and if the milk prices stay, I mean, we're happy with that. But we'll have one of those tie stalls, flow gutters. When my dad put that in, I mean, that was the thing to do, and now I'm able to use that. So I mean, I'm going to continue. As far as actually building a barn and a powder, I mean, it would take a long time to ever pay for that. But I think it's just a thing you do to keep. Probably eventually tie stalls aren't going to even be allowed. So, I mean, I think it's just part of the thing you do. It's not, we started kind of messing around, if we'd milk more cows. And I don't really think it would be, it's a return on investment, but I think it's more going to end up just being a thing that it's just the thing you do. Mm-hmm. And, obviously we'd like the cows to pay for it before it's built, not after it's built, is kind of our philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you see that especially with, you've got little kids. As the kids become older and become interested with the land prices inflating, everything going up, you might have to be milking 45, 50 cows when the next generation is ready to take over. So, and to keep that next generation interested, you have to be profitable, and you can't just completely work yourself to death. So I see a lot of that happening as the next generation is getting closer to being involved in the operation.
Exactly. My grandpa milked, 12 cows? My dad probably milked 20. I milked 30. I see absolutely no reason that's not going to continue. Mm-hmm. We probably are going to end up 40 or 50. I mean, yeah, I'm not against that. I'm just, there's so much talk out there. You got to milk all the, I mean, in the farm and dairy, there was, I'm not going to get into that, edit that. Okay, but there's just so much. I mean, just because you milk 60 cows doesn't mean you're going to make more money. You know, I think that's just so wrong. But I'm not against milking 60 cows. You know, it's just I got to have a reason for it. I'm not just going to do it because somebody tells me I have to. You know, that's the way. But yeah, I have no problem with. I mean, I want to keep it small and simple. Yes, I do. But I mean, if 60 cows is what it takes, I mean, we'll milk 60 cows. I mean, I'm not against that. And then we could probably milk 40, 50 cows and not work any less. Not work any more than we do now because we would parlor, freestall. You know, it would be more efficient. So we could probably milk more cows with the less work. But like I said, we'd really like the cows to pay for it before, but not instead of after.
That is a different mindset. Usually it's I'll borrow the money and then I'll get the cows to pay back the money. So it's kind of a different mindset you have.
And if I wouldn't have something that actually works, I'd have to do that. But I have something that works. So, you know, and we probably won't, you know, yeah, if we have to borrow money, we'll borrow money. You know, I'm not. But right now it's working. So, you know, yeah, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. But I just don't, I mean, just the way everything is, the way the animal welfare thing is, I mean, another thing with a nice barn with fans, you know, if it's hot. We have a lot of shade trees, and we move them around twice a day sometimes. We can keep them comfortable, but they're standing instead of laying down. And, you know, where we'd have a nice barn with fans, you know, if it's 90 degrees, we'd bring them in there. Just the way everything's headed, I mean, I think that's the way to go. But, I mean, as far as I mean, cows do wonderful in tie stalls. I mean, it's not that they don't. I mean, it's just a public mindset. And yeah, there's a little more labor to feed them, but you save it back in manure. I mean, we don't handle our manure. It just disappears, you know. So it's just pros and cons. But with the way everything is, you know, I see us changing in the next 5-8 years. I mean, yeah, we don't want to be the last stubborn guy that has tie stalls, you know.
I mean, when you look at feeding individual cows, it's really, really hard to find a better system than you have, because you can give each cow exactly what that cow needs, where if you're feeding with a TMR along, you know, headlocks, that's a whole lot easier, but you're not treating each cow individually.
Yeah, we feed two different amounts, you know, fresh cows and other cows. Ideally, we probably do 2 or 3, but I mean, we want to keep it very. I mean, my 6-year-old son does some, you know, he gives the extra grain and sugar, which I don't think we're going to continue sugar, but I want to keep it simple enough, you know, that I don't want to be giving this one 5, this one 8, this one 10, this one 12, but that 2 amounts, I think is, I mean, it's very well worth our time, but it's not highly complicated, and it's not that much different if the neighbor milks, which is extremely rare. You know, I'll just say, give them all a scoop. Don't worry about it. You know, it's not, you know, it's not like they have to have the individual amounts here, but we feed 2 amounts, and we think that's very well worth it.
Well, Adam, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I want to really thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. It was really interesting. So thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for you guys, Steve.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Back to the Roots podcast, brought to you by Albert Lee Sears.